February 8, 2021 will now come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Stetz.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I thought Rick was tipping over in that chair.
I did too.
You distracted me. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nucci,
Here.
Mr. Butler,
Here.
Ms. Dixon,
Here.
Mr. Fasay,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Taylor,
Here.
Mrs. Wilford,
Here.
Mayor Stetz,
Here.
Solicitor Garvin.
Yeah.
Full house, full house. Okay, do we have any requests for citizens to be heard today?
No, just in it.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, let's get right to it then. We don't have a road crew foreman report. Committee report zoning, Mr. Smith.
What about the engineer, maybe?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Engineers report, Mr. Flaw, what do you got? It's dark here. I can hardly see my paper. Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead, Brian.
You good? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'd like to talk about a few grants this evening. The first is the CITF grant. That's a community infrastructure tourism fund. I've been working with Sam and Steve on a potential application for improvements to Foster Park. This grant is administered by the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County. The project must be greater than $100,000 and less than $250,000 to be eligible. The application is due February 11th, which is this Thursday. So I worked with Sam and Steve to prep an estimate for Foster Park to mill and resurface the tennis court. Put a new fence up around the court and that one length of the volleyball court. Also put new nets and posts in at the tennis court. And also to reconstruct the walking trail that is adjacent to the tennis court. And also to remove and replace the concrete surface on the existing stage. And then plus install a short ADA path from the existing walking trail to that stage, and then also to replace one piece of playground equipment. So the total for that estimate that I came up with was $220,314.60. This application does require a resolution to be passed. So I guess if council is interested in proceeding, we would need a resolution.
Yeah, we're ready for that. Let me just jump in there real quick, Brian. These are the things that the committee met on last year that we were originally talking about DCNR grant. So this wasn't just something we just pulled out of a hat. These were things that had been discussed by the committee that was supposed to be involved in the DCNR grant. Smith, do you want to jump in on that at all?
Yes. So we were looking at the DCNR grant, but in order to achieve that, we would have to do a bunch of this research that we already did for the other grant as well.
All the specs are going to be the same.
One of the benefits was for the DCNR grant, we needed to match the funds. And for the CITF one, we do not need to match the funds. So that was one of the perks in trying to aim for this one, because the research, for lack of a better word, behind both was pretty much identical.
Right. So we would have had to do all this. If we're going to put in for the DCNR, we're going to have to do this anyway. But if we get this one, we don't have the matching funds. We don't have to do all that jumping through those hoops for some of the studies, bless you, some of the studies and stuff, and the master site plan, which is probably $30,000, and some of those other things. So this isn't really spending money, because we'd have had to do all these specs and engineering work regardless for the DCNR grant. So when this plopped in our laps a few weeks ago, we thought, well, maybe we got nothing to lose really by giving this a go.
What about, Sam, what about
the number is ridiculous high too, because of the Brian thinks that we're going to really need to mill and resurface that tennis court, because the problem is with it being up on that hill and it sags on the, on the field side, it sags, and then the trees coming through the other side, that, the tree roots and everything, that it's busted up that asphalt a little bit, and that you're never going to get a decent surface on there, just resurfacing, that you're going to that it's just going to, the crack's going to come back. So that's why this is so expensive, because a lot of that cost is milling and resurfacing and getting milling machines and pavers and everything up on that hill. So, okay.
Sam, what about the corner where the batting cages are?
That
Any-
was actually going to be part of the DCNR grant
Okay,
because we'd have been way over in cost because the cap on the CITF is 250. So it would have been way
Okay.
over. But DCNR is looking for, like we had talked about, committee had discussed, maybe like those senior exercise stations around the path, you know,
Yep.
like stretching
Yep.
stations. And also the as far as taking out those that batting cage and putting in handicap parking there. But that's still an issue because I don't know what's going on with CIT. We can't really make any headway with CIT. So, but that's something we'll just have to just do. But anyway, those were things that we've sort of been keeping in our pocket because we can't do them with the CIT because it's CITF grant because that'll put us over the cap. Plus, those are things that you almost need to have for the DCNR grant.
well, what do we need to do to put a hammer over CIT's head to either clean that area up
Well,
or remove?
I don't know the answer to that. As far as I'm concerned, it's on our property and it's been abandoned. So
I've reached out to CIT 3 times and I have not, I got one response saying he would check with the board and then I have not gotten a response since
well, as
then.
far as I'm concerned, it's on our property, it's abandoned, and we'll do what we have to do.
Just
We've not
something
really
that-
gone anywhere. There was some discussion a couple years ago with Joe Chesno about CIT
Yeah.
turning that stuff over to us, but I don't know where that got left at because I wasn't involved in that. But at this point, I'm not that concerned about that.
Yeah, but it's still the first thing people see. You know what I mean? It's still the ugly sight alongside the road. That's
Yeah,
all,
I
you know.
think that's something that at the minimum, we'll just take it down, but we'll figure that out. But that would be part of the DCNR grant. So, okay, Brian, anything else on that?
On the CITF, no.
Okay, and then Samantha, you'll have a resolution. There was a sample resolution that that Brian sent over to Bob, and so Bob got some language and was
Mhm.
forwarded to you. So when you get to your report, maybe you can make
Okay.
that resolution.
Need that by Thursday?
I'm sorry. Yeah, that needs to be submitted by Thursday.
You can do the
Yeah, so-
resolution as a vote?
Yeah, I will do it during committee.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Oh,
we'll just
okay.
do it during committee rather than getting too far out of order here. Okay, Brian, what else you got?
Next is the Alcosan Grow Grant. The borough received a letter, I think it was dated February 1st, regarding the letter of interest for the Cycle 6 Grow Grant. The LOIs are due March 31st. And the LOI submittal, it's kind of basic project information, and it's pretty much the same information that we reviewed with Alcosan in November. So if we would submit that prior to March 31st, then Alcosan would review that. If they see the project is feasible for their grow grants, then they would ask us to do a full application, which is due June 30th. So we just got this information late last week, so I didn't have a chance to go over this with the committee, with the HHS committee at the last meeting. So kind of gauging the interest of, if the borough wants to move forward with that grow grant through Alcosan. And I guess another part with that, I want to add that if the borough moves forward with applying for that, part of the June submission, they require pre-construction flow metering data. So we would have to put probably three meters in the system for a period of 3 months. We typically budget $5,000 per meter. So we'd be looking at like $15,000 for the metering. I did have that. Actually, I had 30,000 in the budget that I sent over to Debbie last fall. But that metering can also be used for the new consent order when we have to come up with source reduction projects. So that metering data will be used for more than one thing. So I just wanted to throw that in there and throw that out for this discussion if the borough would like to move forward with the grow grant.
Okay.
Would those meters need to be put in place?
Pardon me?
When would those meters need to be put in place?
I would say I'd like to get them in March, which would mean I'd probably have to get started on them here in the next week or two to get with the company that installs them. So that would give us, some of March, April, and May, get a good 3 months in prior to the June 30th submittal.
Mhm. Okay. And Karen, you'll be working with them on that. Okay. All right. Anything else, Brian?
Yep.
Any questions for the engineer? No? Okay, thanks, Brian. All right, building, zoning, and code, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll try to get through some. I have a hard time talking, you can jump in, but
Okay, I will. I will.
But we had a committee meeting and me and Sam had some separate meetings with BIU personnel. And the parking pad issue came up and it looks like the first, I don't know if that's the first one he's granted or not, but we had a little bit of issues with it, so I'll just read the motion.
Well, let me jump in and explain it real quick, Rick, so you don't have to talk too much. One of the issues was that Dan felt that since this is actually a zoning ordinance, that this should be a zoning permit, which we don't really even have. So one of the changes in the ordinance was going to be to change the language in the ordinance to zoning permit versus building permit. And then the other issue that really jumped up and bit us was the composition of the pad, which we wanted it to be paved, but there was a little bit of wiggle room for the code enforcement officer or whoever was issuing this to be a little bit more lenient on materials. And the first one, he let them put gravel in, which we actually got, it's supposed to be being changed to concrete. So really what we're doing is we're just changing it from building permit to zoning permit. And then where it gives him discretion on materials, we're just taking that line out. So it's just going to say like concrete, asphalt, paving, stones, or whatever. So it's going to basically take out that. And if anybody wants to do gravel, if they have some extenuating circumstance where they would need to do other materials, then they can file variance for that. And we'll be good to go. The other minor thing is references in that ordinance to the code officer will have to all be changed to zoning officer. So there's a few references in there to code officer. So
Right.
those have to be changed.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah. And so we still have the hopes to jump through, since it's a zoning ordinance, through the county, but basically they've had all this, they've made their comments, we've made the corrections. These are just some tweaks that I don't see any issue, but you still have to send it off to them, wait for it to come back. And then, so it's going to be a little while. So this is just for us to advertise the change. We're actually advertising the changes, but what we're going to do is just re-advertise the ordinance, just redo the ordinance, because I've been talking to Bob with this today. It seems like a good idea that if you have an ordinance that has all the information, and then you have another ordinance that just has the changes, you need to have both of those things to have a real the comprehensive ordinance. So we're just going to blow the old one up, and then the new one will be the comprehensive ordinance. So it's basically the old one with those changes. So instead of having to reference two different ordinances, you can reference one ordinance.
Right.
So that's what this is about. We just, a couple things that after the fact, and it happens all the time, that it's not a building permit, it's a zoning permit, and then we just want to be clear on the material. So that's really all this is. So, but we still have to advertise it since it's an ordinance change and send it to the county.
Right, and the county, still gotta send it to the county and so.
Right. So that's where we're at.
Now,
Rick,
on the new ordinance, they'll need to reference that the previous ordinance is now null void.
not until we pass the new one.
Okay.
Rick, you want me to just read this? Why don't you let me read this?
Okay.
All right. Can I please have a motion to advertise amendments to ordinance number 2 of 2020 regarding front yard and side yard parking requirements in the building's R2 and R3 zoning district? Can I please have a motion?
So
Uh,
moved.
Motion by Mr. Fasese, seconded by
Second,
Mrs. Wolfert. Any questions on the ordinance? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Dixon. Ms.
Nod your
Dixon?
head, Karen. You're on mute.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Fasay,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yeah,
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilford,
yes.
Mr. Nucci.
Yes. Okay, keep in mind, this is just the advertising, so this isn't, we haven't really done anything yet, and it still has to go to Connie and everything else, so. Anything else, Rick?
No, that's
That's
about all I
plenty.
have.
That's a
Unless
plenty,
you-
that's plenty. All right,
question.
all right, thank you, Rick. General Government, Mr. Butler.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a short, super short report. Well, I have a motion related to zoning. Zoning and planning is still pretty much what I'm doing at this point. Any questions on the motion, first of all, related to zoning? I sent an email. I think most of you saw it, if not all of you. I heard from a few of you.
Yeah, well, just to make clear, this isn't really anything different than what we've already agreed to, right, Greg? We're not committing to do anything outside of the grant right now.
It's kind of securing EPD before they get away from us, so we don't have to go through the whole process again.
Right,
And also before Craft and Council possibly decides to send RFPs again, the new council maybe next year, so.
Yeah.
I think it's a smart thing to do.
yeah, okay. This is a little disclaimer. I got a call from the Suburban Gazette about a week ago, and they asked me about this, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but the nature of the call was that I was told by them, and I don't know that this is true or not, but that Crafton said at their meeting that if the financing is not secured, Ingram is out of the project. And I told them that we had not made that decision yet. It's possible we would be, it's possible we won't be, but we're not there yet. So we have not decided on that yet, because like we've discussed even last month, there's a lot different scope of it than just what's R2 and what's R3 and things like that. So I have a little bit different opinion of it, but I think that's a bridge we have to cross when we come to it and not maybe jump to a conclusion now. But the important thing is that we're not committing to that right now. All we're saying is go ahead, they can get this, we're just locking that EDP or whatever it is in so that we don't have to do this again. We don't have to go through all these hoops again, right, Greg?
That's exactly what it is.
Right. So just so everybody knows, if you see or hear anything, that's what I told them. We have not decided. And we may not. I don't know. We need to get more information. We need to see what's going on with the grant, and then we'll make a decision based on the new information. But we're not saying that if we don't get this grant, we're out. Or we're not saying, well, we're going to just pay it out of pocket if we don't either. We're not saying that either. So we're just not committing at all. So just so everybody's aware of that, if you hear or see anything about that, that was the conversation. So, okay, Greg, sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. That's good. Thanks. On the pedestrian walking, bicycling plan, the steering committee's been established, and Justin Miller, who is I guess he's, what do you call him, the project manager, he's gonna send out like a doodle poll for the kickoff meeting, and he wants that to happen in February, so we're like a month behind. Not a big deal. It's still gonna be basically about a 10-month process, so I'm looking forward to getting it started. I think it's better it started late, just because of the holidays, and I don't know, January, all foggy, I guess, and so we're rolling. It's going to start happening. I'll keep you posted, and there will be plenty of public meetings, several public meetings for public input, and I will let you know about that ASAP, so you can reach out to all of your neighbors.
Okay, great. Greg, let me interrupt you for 1 second. Bob, do we need to approve the steering committee? But that's really not, they're only advising the planning commission. So do we need to get involved in that or do anything officially?
So do we appoint members?
That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, we should.
Well, the planning commission's basically done this, and they've picked the people, which I'm absolutely fine with. They've talked to people and they're all on the same page and everything. But I don't know that, since it's technically not the committee making the decisions, it's just people that are advising them. Do we need to formally recognize them?
Doesn't hurt.
Should we do that now?
You have it?
I'd have to find it.
You know what? How about if we do this? Can we do this? We'll voice vote that. Maybe you can send something out when you find it. We'll voice vote that and ratify next month. Is that good enough?
No,
Everybody understands what it's about now. That way you don't have to worry about it right now. I just want to make sure, I don't know that it's necessary that we do that, and I really don't care who you've picked or whatever, but I don't know if we need to just legally to do that, to make them, to legally put them on that steering committee. So yeah, let's do that. Greg, if you just send that out, send the names, we'll do a voice vote and we'll be done with that. And that way that'll be done. Okay?
Yeah, it's basically the planning commission, someone from the county, somebody from Port Authority, and 2 residents. So I'll get all the names.
Well-
Sorry, I forgot to do that.
I don't know. I don't know that we have to appoint somebody from the
Just
county.
your community members.
Just the 2
Okay.
community members. Do you have those names?
Yeah, I forget the one gentleman's name. So not including the planning commission, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I have it. I can find it. Like, I just need to pull up my,
Well, you know what? When you find it, you can jump in later with that.
Okay.
Okay,
okay.
that'll be fine.
We'll come back to it maybe after Tim's,
Okay, whenever, and when you got it, just let us know. We'll jump back.
all right, that's all I have. And I spoke with Debbie about her, maybe looking into getting the new computer and the updates to her freedom, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
freedom.
Okay, hopefully she's doing that, because I think she needs it. I've made no progress on the sign. Sorry, Pete, I keep stalling on that, but I'll get to it, I promise. I'll get some more information about transforming the sign at the Borough Building. With that said, I do have a motion to authorize environmental planning and design to provide recommendations for amendments to the borough's zoning ordinance and zoning map, subject to the funding of a 50,000 municipal assistance program grant in conjunction with Grafton Borough.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Fasay. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
That's all I have. Thank you.
great. Hey, Bob, I have a question for you. Greg's talking about that lighted sign, that the digital sign at the Borough Building. Can we sell advertising on that?
Sure, why not? I know a company out that's got Robinson all lit up for.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're all lit up.
Maybe you can put us in touch.
Sure.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it. I'm just kidding, by the way. I'm kidding. All right, thanks, Greg. Any questions for Greg? Thank you. Highways, Health and Sanitation. Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Brian said, we're going to continue on with that GROW grant. We really wanted to be part of their Alcosan's little babies. We're looking at the consent order coming up by, maybe Bob has something in his report in regard to that. And we're also still looking at what road we're going to do. It's coming down to probably West Prospect. We did hear from the water company, was that correct, Brian? About Ingram Avenue?
It was gas company, P&G may have a future project on Ingram. Yeah, Ingram Avenue.
Okay, so the little part that we did down between Sampson and Linshaw would be included in that as well. Then also up along Ingram Avenue, 101, 103, 105, where we have a soft spot, and also at the Sampson Arms. So that might be helpful that if the water company has to do a project there, but they might also decide to do sidewalk project. Other than that, I do have a motion for tonight. It's to pay a bill. And I'd like to motion to authorize an expenditure of the amount of $14,460.15 to SHACOG for Ingram's share of the joint municipal O&M CCTV inspection and cleaning year 9 outlined in the engineer's letter of January 11th, 2021.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Fasay. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler,
Yes, yes.
Ms. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Fasay,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilford,
Yes.
Mr. Nucci.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Anything else? Any questions for Karen? Thank you, Karen. Parks and Recreation, Mrs. Wolford.
Thank you. I just really have the motion for the resolution in regards to our conversation earlier. So I have a motion to adopt resolution number 3 of 2021, authorizing the filing of an application for a CTIF grant in the amount of $220,314.60 for improvements at Foster Park.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Fasay. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else, Samantha?
That's really all I have.
I'll tell you something you already know, but we should probably be preparing for Ingram Days as if it may happen this year, or at least maybe in some limited capacity. So,
Yeah, we have to prepare for that. And we also have to decide for the Easter egg hunt.
yeah, which is much sooner.
Hmm.
It doesn't look good for the Easter egg hunt, I'm guessing. But maybe there's something different we can do, like sort of like we did for Halloween.
Yep.
So if anybody has an idea, set forward them to Samantha. We'll go from there. Okay, anything else? Samantha, anything else?
Nope. I'm sorry. No.
Any questions for Parks? Thank you, Samantha. Finance, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a motion to ratify the payment of the January 14th, 2021 payroll in the amount of $26,343.35 and the January 28th, 2021 payroll in the amount of $24,705.31.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded by Mr. Fasay. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Fasay,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
yes,
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilford,
Yes.
Mr. Nucci.
Yes.
A motion to ratify the payment of expenses on January 28th, 2021 as follows. General Fund, $32,749.10. Recreation Fund, $108.60. And the Sanitary Sewer Fund, $2,901 even.
Motion's been made. Any questions? A second? Ms. Dixon, seconded by Ms. Dixon. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Fasay,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
yes,
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilford,
Yes.
Mr. Nucci.
Yes.
A motion to ratify the payment of expenses on February 4th, 2021 as follows. General Fund, $350.27, and the Payroll Fund, $2,680.19.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Fasay. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Fasay,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
yes,
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilford,
Yes.
Mr. Nucci.
Yes.
A motion to pay the expenses for February 8th, 2021 as follows. General Fund, $23,134.91. Recreation Fund, $39.82. Sanitary Sewer Fund, $1,861.08. Payroll Fund, $2,471.45. And the Liquid Fuels Fund, $6,937.62.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Fasay. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Fasay,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
yes,
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilford,
Yes.
Mr. Nucci.
Yes.
A motion to adopt resolution number 2 of 2021, adopting the 2021 Alcoasand sewer charges for the borough of Ingram.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Fasay. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Fasay,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
yes,
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilford,
Yes.
Mr. Nucci.
Yes.
And a final motion to accept the proposal from Jordan Tax Service for the preparation of current borough real estate tax bills and the collection of current borough real estate taxes for the period January 2022 through December 31st, 2025 at the cost of $3.25 per tax bill.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Fasay. Just for everybody's amusement, that's the current rate that they're going to extend for us.
Correct.
Any other questions on the motion?
Does that,
We did
does
have
that
one
re-
question about whether or not we were able to access electronic.
Yeah,
records.
I actually had a discussion with Pete about that, and why don't you guys get me exactly what you want? Because we do get some information already, and so I'm not sure what form you want or what report you want. So if you get me with exactly what you want, then I'll follow up.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Any other questions on that?
Yeah, I was wondering if that rate is gonna change or stay for the,
It's the same as it was.
Yeah.
They're extending.
325 through the term.
Yeah,
okay.
through 2025.
Okay. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler,
Yes,
Ms. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Fasay,
Yes,
Mr. Smith,
Yeah,
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mrs. Wilford, Mr. Nucci.
Yes. Okay. Anything else, Tim?
That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Police and fire, Mr. Fasay. Any culinary mishaps this month?
thank you, Mr. President. Yes, as a matter of fact. Yeah, we actually had 2 fire calls this time. One of them was for a kitchen fire extinguished by the resident. So yay team on that. And then a report of smoke, which turned out to be sort of a false alarm. But again, it was very impressive at how much equipment and how fast it arrived. Something that we should be pretty proud of, that we offer our community that level of fire service and that same level of police service that we do. The other thing we had was a bit of a committee meeting today that we discussed a couple things. One of them was the hiring and what to do about the part-time officers, and then a little bit about police equipment. So other than that, it's pretty much what you and I talked about, Sam.
Yep. Yeah, well, I don't know what the answer is, but we'll keep working at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, any questions for police and fire? Thank you, Pete. Mayor's report, Mayor Stetz.
Sorry about that. Thank
You're
you,
good.
President. We had 141 calls and we received $495.74 for the month of January. It's been a slow month.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Any questions for the mayor? Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. Secretary's report, Mrs. Stecco.
Thank you. I completed all of the state forms, including the liquid fuels report that were due at the end of January. And I'm still working on obtaining a quote for the public officials and employment practices insurance quote that I believe is due in April. And we began our annual audit. It is a little challenging this year with COVID restrictions, getting information back and forth, but it's so far it's working. And just as a reminder, our trash and recycling contract needs to be bid out. I think we have to make some changes to the specs as to the recycling items. So maybe we
sure.
could discuss this at the next upcoming HHS committee.
I think
meeting.
that'd be the way to go with it.
That's all I have.
Okay, any questions for the secretary? Thank you, Debbie. Solicitor's report, Mr. Garvin.
On January 25th, I participated in a video Zoom conference, and I think Greg might have been on it, and maybe Brian Flaw too, with Alcoasand and Three Rivers wet weather officials regarding trunk line transfer agreements. We probably should be seeing in the next week or so, certainly I think before the end of the month, them submitting the revised agreements to all the communities that are serviced by Alcoasand. And these agreements will require the transfer of the trunk lines to Alcoasand, and there are certain conditions that were discussed pretty much at length during this conference. So we'll keep an eye out for that. And that's all I have for this evening.
Great. Any questions for the solicitor?
We've taken care of all the trunk or all the issues that we had in order to make this transfer smooth once they have all this done, right? There's nothing new, in other words.
No, it's nothing new, except they gave us an initial draft, and I'm sure Debbie can recall this. It was in a binder that was about this thick.
A lot of words, a lot of big words.
It was a whole lot of words in it. And then, of course, then a group of municipal solicitors got a hold of it, refined the agreement to the satisfaction of both Alcoasand and the municipal solicitors group. So it's in shape now that it can be approved by the communities.
Yeah. Brian, do you have anything to add on that? Yeah.
Everything's complete. I think we need to do the final televising of some of the repairs that Alcoasand needed done, because I know one of them was just completed this past year. So I think it's just the final televising for that.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Bob?
No, that's it.
Anything else for the solicitor? Any questions? Thank you, Bob. President's report. I don't really have anything to talk about. Anybody be interested in hearing, but I would like to have an executive session, discuss a personnel matter after the meeting. So if everyone would please stay on. Any questions? Do we have any old business or new business?
I'm prepared to make my motion.
Okay, go ahead. Have at it.
A motion to appoint Mike Santee, Dana Kostychak to the Ingram Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Traffic Calming Plan Steering Committee.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Dixon. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Greg.
thanks.
Okay, any other no old business or new business? Any public comment? Ron or Jessica, anything?
No, Sam.
Nope. Okay, great. I would entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Motion by
So
Mr.
moved.
Taylor, seconded by Mr. Fasay. Ron and Jessica, thank you for coming.
For personnel matter, right, Sam?
Yes, it's a personnel matter. All right.
So I'm out too. I'll see you guys.
Okay, bye, Brian.
Bye, Brian.
Have a good night.
All right. Okay, Ron, thanks.
Good night.
Bye. All right.
Wait. We're still recording.